The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, good afternoon everybody. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. This is Gail Thompson from Secured Signing, and I also have Tom from FastTrack on the line. Seeing that is 2 o'clock, we are going to get started. But before we jump into the demonstration, we're just going to have a quick introduction from Tom, and then we will get into the rest of the agenda.
Good morning, everyone. Tom here from FastTrack. Thank you for taking the time out to join. 2 o'clock in New Zealand, 12 o'clock in Australia, to find out about what's happening with Secured Signing. So I guess just as a bit of a context, we've been working in partnership with Secured Signing for a good period of time now. I guess we picked these guys to join our marketplace based on their market-leading digital signing technology, and also the capability with their technology to digitise forms. So whether that's something they do or you can do yourself, their tools are very powerful, a lot of great functionality to help with clients and candidates and streamlining that process. So we've seen some massive development from these guys with the next phase of integration, now with the latest release of FastTrack and being able to trigger some of those actions within the system. So look, without any further ado, we're really excited to see the current integration and I guess where the guys are taking it. So I'll hand back to Gal. Thanks, Gal.
Thank you so much, Tom. Yes, no, we are very excited about our partnership as well, and the feedback that we've had from existing customers using this has been very positive. Just a few housekeeping before I jump into today's session. It's meant to be scheduled for 45 minutes. I do have quite a bit to get through, so I will do my best to balance not overloading you with too much, but showing you as much as I can in that time. But if we do miss a few functionality, then I can pick up individual questions or conversations with each of you after the session. In terms of questions, feel free to ask questions as you think of them as well, and I'll be able to see them. As I say, I'll do my best to answer them when I can, and if not, I will come back to you afterwards. And I think that is it from me in terms of housekeeping. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to cover today is tell you a little bit about Secured Signing, because the mix of audience that we have today is variable. So we have some existing customers with us, so thank you for joining. We've got some prospect that we haven't spoken to, so we don't know if you know much about us. So I'm just going to cover the basics to begin with, tell you a bit about us, explain our signing technology and how it is different to some of our competitors, outline some of the benefits that we've learned that our customers are getting through this integration, and then, as I say, I'll spend as much time as I can in the actual demonstration of showing you the system. As I say, there's a lot to show, so I'll do my best to get through as much as I can. Now, if there's any technical issues throughout, please let me know again in the questions, and I'll be able to hopefully help. If you can't hear me or anything like that, yeah, please let me know. Okay, so a little bit about Secured Signing. So we are a digital signature platform that lets users sign documents online and complete digital forms. We launched our platform in 2010, and our head office is located in Auckland, New Zealand, which is where I'm talking to you today. I'm sure you can tell from my accent. All of our development support functionality is based right here in New Zealand. But in saying that, majority of our customers are offshore, and we have a very large customer base in Australia, and in particular in the recruitment sector as well. So we have worked with many recruitment companies over the years since we launched, and we've learned a lot from those customers, and that's why we saw that there is a real value added advantage with integrating into your core CRM, which is why we've done this integration. So with Secured Signing, you can, as we mentioned, create documents, configure a signing workflow. So what I mean by that is what you do before a document is sent out to be signed, during a signing process, and then what happens to the document after it was signed. We also take care of automatic reminders and notification, and we also have advanced reporting functionality, just as a basic overview there. That's a little bit about us. Now, in terms of our signing technology, this is going to be the most technical slide that I have, so please bear with me. But there is this notion that, if you're signing online, you're using the same technology, and surely it's safe. But I think it's really important to know or be aware that there are different signing technologies in the market, and that different technologies deliver different advantages or disadvantages. So I just like to explain the difference of the two most common ones, which is an electronic signature and a digital signature, and why you should know why they're different. So an electronic signature, which is the most commonly used type, is simply an image of a signature that is added to any document. That image is essentially a picture of a squiggle that is captured in a signing process. That squiggle or picture can be copy and pasted by anyone and placed anywhere. So there is no sort of mechanism in place that stops people from copying an image of your signature. The other thing that is lacking is any additional document security. And what I mean by that is that after a document is signed, if somebody was to edit that document, and there are tools out there that you could edit PDFs, their signature just looks fine. You will have no idea that there's been any changes made unless you read through the document thoroughly and remembered every single thing. There is no tool within the signature itself to alert you that something has been changed in the document. Okay, so it's an electronic signature. It is really simple to build and develop, which is why it's most the commonly used signing technology. Digital signature, which is what secured signing uses, it's much more complex to build, develop, and you need to have a lot of information about public key infrastructure technology, which is what we use, or short PKI. Now, this technology is cryptographic technology, which gives you much more than just a signing capability, but it adds that document security element that I've touched on before. So each signature is unique to the signer and to the document. You cannot copy and paste the signature image, and it's not just an image, it's got much more, like a timestamp, and you can also include the reason for signing or the intent, which in some places is required. And I suppose the last one is it builds a trust system between yourselves, your client, your candidate, that you know this is the version we've all agreed, and it is sealed with the signature. If there are any changes made to the contract, then it's invalid, and you can check the validity of the signatures in any PDF reader. So it is an offline tool. You don't have to log into secured, you don't have to log into FastTrack to verify a signature. You can do it in any PDF reader, which is really important for long-term archiving and long-term use of online signed documents, which you don't get with an electronic signature. That is a lot to take in. So hopefully I made sense and you're able to keep up. As I say, happy to answer more questions about this. We also have a lot of information on our website around our signing technology, and in particular the difference between the two. So if you are curious or interested, feel free to read about that on our website. And I do have one little sort of questionnaire for you. Can you point out which of these two images is the digital signature and which one is the electronic? So if you guess number 2 is the digital, you're right. As you can see, it's got much more information behind and added to the signature, whereas an electronic signature is just an image there. So we sort of compare ourselves to the old wax seal in terms of more than signing, but also giving you that peace of mind. Okay, so what I'm going to get into next is just sort of describing our integration with FastTrack. As I mentioned, it was released not that long ago, and this is just a quick image of what it looks like. And with the integration, what you're doing is you're adding signing capabilities and online forms to your FastTrack account. It means that you can send a document to be filled in and signed online directly from FastTrack, and you can do it from lots of different places within FastTrack. So whether it's from candidate, referral workflow, client, contact, you can initiate or start a signing process for any of those places. So it's really bringing additional functionality into your FastTrack platform. Now, why would you want that? So what are some of the benefits? So what are the benefits of doing this? Is obviously getting rid of paper in your agency or your practice, which is always a good thing. With the integration, you're able to drive all of your business processes that I mentioned from the one system. So your consultants are not having to log into another system. Everything is done from FastTrack, which they're already familiar with, right? Also, some of the feedback has been around staff efficiency with automation that we can create, and particularly around the way that data is used. So we can take data that is within FastTrack and pre-populate it into your forms, and you can do that yourself as well, which I'll show you. And likewise, any new data that is captured or filled in by the candidate can be automatically pushed back to FastTrack and update, for example, that candidate record. So it's a two-way data flow, which gets rid of the need to manually input any data. Some of the other benefits we've heard from is around the compliance. So when things are done not through a signing platform, emails or whatever it might be, you tend to lose a bit of visibility and standardization around your processes, which obviously can hurt your compliance, and that is really important for you guys in this industry, right? So by having a tool like this, you're setting the right process for what it might be across your organization to ensure that you do reach that compliance. So things are signed at the right time, the right information is captured at the right time. You're not stepping ahead without having some of this crucial paperwork done, which we know, consultants aren't always very good at doing the admin. So this helps automate and standardize as much as that for them, which leads on to, another example of that automation is saving the documentation in the right place. So, how many times have you not found something that was signed, for example, or a document that was completed by a client or a candidate? So this takes care again of that extra step, which then gives you, the additional reporting and visibility from a management point of view. And there's different levels that you can have that reporting as well, depending on your company structure and how it's set in your FastTrack settings. Okay, nearly at the good stuff. Capturing accurate data is really important. So whilst we're getting the candidate to do some of the filling for us, data entry, we need to make sure that the data entry is correct. So we have tools within our form creation tool where you can make sure that it is in the right format. We've got some out-of-the-box format for you, and so we're making sure that they're entering accurate data, decreasing your rework rate, for example, for your admin people or your consultants. And the last one is around customizing the workflow. So what we've learned, again, from our experience over the years is that you think signing or capturing data is quite straightforward. But when you actually think of how you do something with paper today and you replicate it in a digital process, there's a lot of steps that need to happen that you weren't even conscious that you were doing. For example, a consultant fills this in, then it goes to the candidate, then it goes back to the consultant, or it might go to an approval process if there's a certain conditions about this candidate. I don't know. So there's quite a few things that can happen and vary depending on certain answers or scenarios. So with secured signing, you have the tools to customize the signing workflow yourselves. So we've built over the years many additional workflow features that are essentially you tick which ones apply to you, and they're available to you as well. So you can do both simple signing processes as well as complex ones where there's a bit more oversight and steps required. And that's it. So without further ado, let me jump into our demonstration. Now I've got a couple of things lined up. So I'm going to start off with just showing you a WeSign process, which is a simple, what I call signing a one-off document. Then I'm going to show you our template tool, which is the do-it-yourself. And then I'll finally show you our Form Direct, which is the ability for us to build some customized forms for you, as well as some of the government forms, which are TFN, Super, KiwiSaver, IRD, so on and so forth, that are ready-made and available for you to use out of the box. And I will also show you the pay functionality as well. So yeah, as I say, there's a bit to show. But in terms of the FastTrack, the way that it works, anyone within your organization that needs to be able to initiate a signing process and send a document to be signed needs to have secured signing turned on in their setting. Okay, so secured signing for FastTrack account. That will bring them all the functionality of secured signing within their profile. Now, I've gone to a candidate in this example, but as I mentioned, you can start secured signing from any of those other places as well. And the way to start a signing process is by clicking on Custom Actions here, and then you have a drop-down menu of the different options that I mentioned. So WeSign, which is sending a one-off document, so on and so forth. So I'm going to start with a standard WeSign. Now, this would be useful for if you're creating documents, for instance, outside of FastTrack. So you might be using Word to create a contract, or you've been given documentation from your client, for example, that are specific to this role that you need to get signed, for example, an NDA. So you would find the document from your computer, you would upload it like this, and then you have two more steps to do. So you need to tell the system who needs to sign this document and where. So because I'm in a candidate record, when I click here to add signatures, it has pre-populated the candidate name and the person who's logged in. So this user is called secured signing, but this would be the consultant that is logged in. So all they need to do is click on the box for the right person, position the box in the right place, and then they've got a couple of signature settings over here on the left. So is it a full or an initial signature? Do you want the date and time included in the signature box? Do you want the job title, for example? So if it is an approval process and the person's occupation is important, you would just simply tick that. A few other features, so if there was a large contract and you needed them to sign on every page, you also are able to quickly add many signature boxes by clicking multi-page. So you can say all pages, and now we can see there's now more signature boxes on all those pages. But I'm just going to keep it simple for now. So just one signature box. So once you've told us who needs to sign and where, and I should just mention you can add people manually as well that are not part of this. So because of the integration, we know these roles, and this, as I say, changes on where you are within FastTrack. Okay, so next you get to the invitation workflow screen. Now this window is going to come up in pretty much every signing process that you initiate. So I'm just going to take the time to explain it here, and then I won't do so in the other times that you see it. But what's important in the invitation workflow is, for instance, starting with the due date. So when does this document need to be signed? Secured signing will automatically send reminders to the invitee, in this case the candidate Stu would, depending if they haven't signed it. So if it's less than 7 days that the due date is set, we will send out one reminder. If it is more than 7 days, we will send out 7 days or more, we will send 2 reminders. You can amend the due date here manually. You can choose it to the hour or to the minute if there's some specific time-bound requirement that you have. But you can completely customize the reminder schedule. So you can choose when you want to send the reminder, how often, and what does each reminder email actually says to the candidate or client. If there were multiple people that needing to sign, you can choose the order. So if the candidate and the consultant, for example, need to sign, you can decide who signs first, the candidate or the consultant, and then it adds a number here to each invitee. The first person would obviously get the invitation first, and only once they've signed, it will go to the second person in the order. So that's what that means. If you untick it, it just means that both invitee will receive their invitation at the same time, and we take care of whoever clicks on the link first. They will email through there. So that's no problem. Now, then there's a few other information that you can alter at an invitee level. So for example, you can choose to send this invitee an SMS notification, which lets them know that they have a signing request. Now in that text message, there's also going to be a link. They can click on that link and start filling out their forms or sign whatever they need to. So this is a really good way to create some urgency and get the attention of your candidates, in particular if they don't have access to email on their phone or on the go. I should mention that the example I'm going to show you today is what we call remote signing. So the candidate is going to sign on their own, in their own time and in their own device, wherever they might be. But we do have a functionality here which is called face-to-face, and that is if the candidate is coming into your office or you're meeting with the candidate in person, and you want them to complete it together. So then there is a slightly different signing process that is available there. I won't have the time to demonstrate it today, but yeah, just to make you aware that you can do obviously an in-person signing process, and you can also switch between the two. So you can send it remotely, hoping that they will fill this in advance before they come for the interview, for example. But if they haven't, you can change it to an in-person signing now that they're in your office very quickly. So it's really simple. As you can see, we have pulled through the mobile phone number automatically, so the consultant doesn't need to do anything. Another feature is just the review before signing, and that's just to say that they need to read through the document fully before they sign. Particularly important for contracts, right, where they need to show that they've read it, and then that action is entered as part of the audit log, which is your legal evidence of the signing process. The final thing that I just want to show you is around the email invitation. So you can tailor and build your own email templates depending on the process, and the consultant can just tick which process they're doing. So is this a candidate onboarding, or is this client terms of business, whatever it might be, and they can also edit it on the fly as well. If they do nothing, we just send our default email, which is what I'll show you now. There are additional settings in here that I'm not showing you through because they're not ticked on, but essentially all of our workflow features, you need to turn them on first, and then if they're turned on and relevant for you, they will be available here. The next one that I've turned on is just the last one, is the additional notification recipient, and this is if you want to copy somebody else into the process that isn't the initiator, and it's not anyone that's signing. Okay, so if you might want to copy in a manager or somebody else in your organization, you can do that, and you can choose when you want to copy them in. Do you want to let them know when the invitation has been sent out, or do you only want them to be looped in on completion? So once it's been completed, for example, a payroll representative. So you can easily tick that. So once you've set your workflow, you click on send, and then it's done, and you close through to the window. Now, what's going to happen now, I'm going to show you what the experience is like for the candidate. But before I do that, I want to show you how you can sort of keep tabs on what's been happening. So I clicked on the Get Document Status button. And what it's done, it's given me all the in-progress documents that are pending for Stu Wood. Okay, because I'm in Stu Wood's profile, these are the pending documents for this candidate, the profile that I'm in right now. From here, the consultant can quickly see the status, so where it's at. They can view the document if they want to have a look. They can see the audit log to see what steps are happening. You can also view the sent emails, so you can refer to there, but the most important one in my opinion is the eye icon, and what you can do from there is extend the due date. You can copy in more people, and you can change it to face-to-face. So this is if that scenario I mentioned earlier happens, and you can also send a manual reminder if they need another one. So that is how you would sort of update a signing process if there's any changes to it, rather than having to start again. Got a question here around multiple documents. You can absolutely send multiple documents in one invitation. So when I was adding my document for the WeSign, you would just upload multiple documents at once, and then that creates what we call a package. So you can absolutely do that. Now, if I jump in here, I want to show you the experience for the candidate. So what happens here is that the candidate is going to receive an email invitation from yourself. It's going to have your branding. So it's got the look and feel. If you do have any automated templates, it will be there, but this is just our default one, which just has the core information that they need to sign. When they're ready, they will click on it, and then they will enter a 4-digit passcode around, and this is accessing the document for security. You can do two-factor authentication if you wish, which is where a code is sent to their phone, which they have to enter before they can access the document. Okay, so then this one has a reading, they must read, as I mentioned. So as you can see, there's a little counter here. And as I go through to the bottom, it's telling me, okay, now that you've read this document, do you want to continue to sign it or decline? If you decline, it stops the signing process, obviously, and you get given a reason. But in my example, I'm going to click continue. And then I need to click here, and if I'm a first-time user of secured signing, I need to capture my signature. So depending on which device you're using, the options here will vary. If your invitee is using a desktop, they will have all of these options, so they can choose a font. We will never ask them to type in their name. That's a question I get often. Can we type their name? You won't be able to type their name because it's not very secure. We want Stu Wood to sign. Why would, by them letting them type, they can type whatever name they like, which doesn't match up with what, the process we want. They can draw with their mouse, they can upload image, they can send us a fax, or use our mobile ePad, which is they're using a desktop to view the document, but they want to just capture their signature on their phone by drawing on the glass. If they are using a mobile device, it will automatically be to draw your signature with your finger on the glass. However, you can also change the settings so it's only a font. Again, from our experience, some agencies, they just want a font, some happy for the drawing functionality. So it really depends on your settings. And you can also, out of the box, choose if you want to remove any of these methods. So if you think fax is not required today, you can remove fax altogether if you wish. So once they do that, they sign, and then it's completed. Now I should mention around if there were multiple documents in this pack, instead of getting to this completed page, it would just take you through to the next document in the pack, and so on and so forth. And then once you've finished all the documents in the pack, you get to this page. So that is how a signing process is like for an invitee. Now what happens on completion? So I just do that. So here we go. We've got the so on completion, all the invitees and the document owner or the person who initiated the signing will be notified that the process is completed, and they will automatically have the signed document or documents attached in the email. So, at the moment you might be sending them back to have a copy. You don't need to do any of that. The system automatically sends the candidate or client their own signed copy as soon as it's finished. Okay. Any questions on that? No? Okay. The final thing I just want to show you is that at the end of any signing process, so again, this is relevant to whichever feature you use, the signed document is automatically, as I mentioned, attached under the document, and then you can download it here and view. Sorry, I need to do it. No, that's not the right one. But yeah, it will. I just always get confused with the filter option. But this is where the signed document is found, and you can download it and view it from here. So that is at the end of a signing process. Now that is just showing you the signing functionality. What I'm going to show you now is how you can take it one step further from a one-off signing process to use with documents that you're already using in your business that are used over and over again, right? So it might be a registration form, a personal details form, whatever it might be. So the do-it-yourself functionality for that is called a document template. And this is what I've done there. Let me just try again. So you would click through on that, and then you have access to our document templates. Now, I'm going to take my time because I'm sure there'll be quite a few questions about this. So if you are an administrator role, you can create a new template or document, right? The way to do that is you click on the Create a Template, you upload a blank version of your form that you use over and over again, and you click Create Template. Okay, then you get to the designer stage. So you need to build your forms. And the way that it works, you don't have to start from scratch because you have the bones of your form based on the document that you've just uploaded, right? So you don't need to think, okay, if I'm going digital, I need to design a new form. You don't necessarily need to do that. You can take your existing form, like here, and just build the digital fields on top of it. So the first thing you would do is you would add the signature. So we know where the signature box is required. and then you would also, choose the settings. Is it an initial? What type of information you want to be included in the signature. So that's obviously step 1. Step 2 is adding the form fields. So when you click here, and hopefully you guys can see it, you have 2 types of fields. You have the FastTrack fields, and then all the different subcategories within that. So when I click, for example, on candidate, it pulls through all the fields that are available within the candidate record. Okay, so the same applies. Then you have some different field, perhaps a checkbox or something like this, or even the file upload button. So I will just show you that one. If you wanted to capture some information during the process, like a driver's license or a passport, you can click this, and it means that the person signing has to attach this information as well, and it is delivered back to you at the end of the process, for instance. If we use, for example, address, so address line 1, what happens is you get a field like this. Now this field will always match the format that it is in FastTrack, because the fields have to be in the same format. So if it's a drop-down menu in FastTrack, it will be a drop-down menu in the form, and we already know that, so you don't have to worry about that. What I would do is I would build all the fields. So I wonder if there's a date of birth here, for example. I'm just going to do a very quick one. So there we go, date of birth for here. So you would put all your fields. Then if you can click select all, which has highlighted all the fields that you have. And then you would choose, for example, the font. So if you want a specific font, if you want a specific size, you can amend the size. Do you want it to be bold? Do you want to change the color of the text? So you can choose, do you want this to be in blue? So on and so forth. So you do that, use the tools up here. You obviously have to select a field. I also want to just touch on the settings over here on the left. So when you're adding a field, you want to also think, is this a mandatory field that must be completed? And if so, by who? So does it have to be completed by the person signing, the invitee, or is it required to be filled in by the sender, i.e. the consultant? So if, for example, it's a term of business document that you have with your client, the sender or the consultant would probably be filling in majority of the information, right? Because you're putting in the variable. Whereas with a registration form, the candidate is likely to be the one required to fill it in. If you leave this blank, it means that it is not mandatory and it won't be highlighted in red. I also should say that if you do say that the sender has to fill it in, you can make it set to a read-only field, and that means that your client, if it's a terms of business example, can't edit anything within that field. Okay, so you're locking it down from it being editing. So that's one example. Once you are comfortable with all of the fields and you want to preview it, you can click on the preview option here, and this will show you the field layout in the web form. So this is the experience that the candidate will see when they're filling it in, and once it's signed, all of our signed documents are in PDF. So this is what it looks like on the final signed PDF. So the reason you have the preview function is that you can tweak things, position them around. I might move this down a little bit and this as well, so it's lined up with the form a bit better. Okay, so once you've taken the time to do this, you would save it, and then you can give it a name, the template name, and you can also choose the way that the format will be saved each time. So sort of what are the naming conventions? So will it be the invitee name first and then the form name, for example? Or if there are multiple people, if there's more than one invitee, perhaps invitee 1 is the consultant and invitee 2 might be the client. So you want the client to be in the name convention. So if there were more than one, it would pick up invitee 2 name, for example. So that is how you would save the template. Now I'm not going to save it, but if I go back to form filler, as you can see, you will then so first you create the template, which is what I've showed you. So you go through and build all your templates. Then you can, you would share the templates with the right people that need access to the template that you've built. And that would vary perhaps from location. So different branch would have a different template with its own maybe branch name. I don't know. there'll be some that will be standard across everyone, but you can also choose specifically which users you're going to share it with. If I'm now putting on the I'm a consultant hat on and I want to send something out, I would click this, so choose the form that you want, and you would just click send. You can also preview it, but if we're confident with the form, you just click send. And then it takes you straight through to the invitation workflow screen, where you, in essence, you can make a lot of these settings default. So the consultant doesn't need to do anything. It's already set to how you want it. Maybe the only thing they would do is change the email invitation depending on the type of templates that they're sending. They click next and then they send. So that is the experience for a consultant. Choose for document templates, choose the document and send. If you wanted, again, to send multiple, you just tick 2 and you click send, and now you have a package. So you need to give the package a name, and then the rest is just the same. Okay, so that is the do-it-yourself form builder. You can also build packs. So you can say this is an onboarding pack pre-interview, onboarding pack post-interview, so on and so forth. So, and you just do that by this functionality here. So, any questions on that? No? Okay. As I say, that's a very quick highlight. There's a lot more functionality over here that I haven't even shown, but the idea is just tools that make it easy to edit, change, and amend and manage these forms yourself. So it's really very powerful and has been really popular by our users. I should also just, one thing I do want to mention that from a candidate experience, all they're receiving is an invitation, and in the invitation, like, this one, they just click on the link and they get stuck straight away. They have the code for security, which is easy for them to find in their part of the email, and then they're getting straight into it. They don't have to, create login details. So they get an email, they have to click on a link to open a create a account, and then so on and so forth. They just, limited touch points. We know that's really important for the success of this and the improvement in the candidate experience or client experience. They just want to get stuck in. Now, what I haven't shown is this example here, and I just want to show you that I'm going to update the phone number to, let's make it 1111111. Okay, so say I'm now a new employee. A lot of the information has been pre-populated for me because you already know this about me. You don't know about me as my contact details. So I haven't made these mandatory. If they were mandatory, they would be in red. So test person. I was going to say test mother, but doesn't sound that good. And then relationship, perhaps mother, and then the phone number again. As you can see, there was validation. So if I put phone numbers, wrong, incorrect, and you can build the validation yourself as well. So you can have TFN number, ABN number, postcode numbers, phone format number for Australia and New Zealand. And in New Zealand, we can even have bank account validation, which is really powerful as well. But I'm just running out of time here, so I'm just going to put that in, and then they sign, and then they're finished. This is just a check, confirm that they're correct, because once you've signed it, you can't change it back. And what I want to show you next is just how the data is going to update. So once we've signed and we go to a refresh, it will do that. So as you can see, the phone number has now changed to 11111. Before it was 22222. So every field within here can be mapped and can be updated. So that is a really powerful. So I filled in my phone number and it automatically updated the candidate record in FastTrack. And that is a do-it-yourself field mapping. Okay. The final one that I'm going to show you, and I am running a little bit out of time to do a good job of it, so I will touch the one form which is around PayWay, because I just want to show you the PayWay functionality. So what that means is how you can create PayWay records in FastTrack with secured signing. Now, PAYE, as you would know if there's some payroll people hopefully here, there is some mandatory information that you must collect before you can create a record, right? Now, every agency we work with have perhaps a slightly different way that they capture that information. Some would have a banking details form, a super and a TFN form, which is typically the mandatory, you can get the mandatory information. But what we've created, and this is available out of the box, is a new employee payee form, which gathers all the mandatory information for you. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to show you. Now, with this information, there is a mandatory step that can be that needs to be completed by the consultant around the payroll. So depending, this is the experience here. So it's saying consultant, you need to complete this, or payroll person, you need to complete this. So this is out of the box. We can change this depending on your requirements if you have specific ones as well. But the idea here is if you have multiple pay groups, you're just choosing the pay company, the different information relating to the pay company. So the consultant would be the one filling this in. We've pulled the start date automatically, so as today, because you can't make it in the past. And with this one, it's just this default super fund in this example, but we obviously have the option to have the other ones. Okay, so this is how we've sent out a form direct. Before I jump from here, I also want to explain that this is, if we were to build any forms for you, this is how or where they would be found, and we can completely design the layout here depending on your processes. So we might have, as I mentioned, a pack one pre-interview documents, post-interview, and then ongoing, perhaps some payroll documentation here. So the consultant just ticks, and we can do a pre-tick together. We can also add attachments, and attachments are documents that don't require signing, but that you need to provide that information to the candidate. So it might be policies that they need to read but not sign. We can also build that into this process here, but also in the do-it-yourself. I just haven't got the attachment functionality turned on, but in the workflow, you choose which attachments you want to include, and you can also build a library of attachments and secured signing as well. And finally, just the public forms that I mentioned, as we have the TFN and the Super Choice form already available out of the box if you're in Australia. For those New Zealand customers, we have, again, the government form, so the KiwiSaver, both options, and we actually have a form that combines and sort of asks them which one you want, which one is relevant. So that's really nice and popular. The IRD forms, the ACC form, and also the MOJ form if you are in that type of recruiting that you need to get the MOJ form completed. So those come out of the box. There's no additional charges for them. But if we were to build a customized form for you, so you'd rather we did it for you, we would, there's obviously a one-off setup fee, which I'm happy to share with anyone that's interested later about that as well. Finally, I just want to show that this PayWay has, this candidate has no PayWay details. So now we've sent them the new employee form, and this, I just want to iterate, this doesn't, no, I need to refresh. This form that I'm using now is just our way of capturing all the data that you need. But if in your process you're capturing the data in other forms, you do not need to have this form, okay? This is just an example to capture all the mandatory information to create a pay record. Okay, so you don't need to have this form, but it is available out of the box if you wish to use it to create a new pay record. So as you can see, we've pre-populated some information that we know already. So the name, date of birth, mailing address, we've got that here, phone number. So all that the candidate needs to do is complete those that is missing. Now I've got a dummy TFN number, and then I'll go through to the BSB, which I've also got a dummy one, and that's automatically picked out the bank and the branch. Account number, I can do what I want, and then the account name, because that might be different, of course, from the candidate name would. So they'll do that, and then you might have a confirm that the information is correct, and then this is the information, and they would click sign. Now, I should also mention that with either forms where there's data to capture, the experience is capture the data first, and then when you click sign, we collect that information and burn it onto the final PDF. So this will look like your existing forms. That's what I mean. You don't have to reinvent your forms. And then they just click to sign, same, capture their signature, and it's completed. Okay, so on completion, same thing happens. It goes to document management. Everybody gets an email notified. But the additional thing that happens with this form is that we now, I don't know if I need to refresh here. Will it kick me out? I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay, no, log in. All right. Hopefully I know the password. Okay, good. So I'm going to show you straight away the payroll functionality because I'm mindful of the time. So I would go to payroll, search for Stu Wood. And I'm far less familiar with the payroll. So hopefully I know what I'm doing. So I'll search Stu Wood, click on search payees, and there you go. We now have a candidate payee record, which we didn't have before. And what it has pulled through, for example, the banking details that we have entered right there. And then it's got like the start date that we have, some details about the candidate that we've captured in the form, the mailing address, and the pay details, so on and so forth. So with secured signing, you can create new pay records. But what you just need to do is obviously capture the mandatory information. So you can do that by either using our form that we've created, and that form is available both in Form Filler and Form Direct, so you can choose which technology or which type of form you want to use out of the box for you, so you can get the advantage of automatically creating pay records for yourselves as well. I'm just, we're a minute over, so any specific questions? I appreciate there is a lot to take in. It is, and I must say, this is just scratching the surface. We have a very, very deep integration in terms of functionality, and the feedback, as I said before, has been really good. And we've got some of our customers use a combination of, we might have created some forms for them, in particular around those that gather a lot of data, and we can do a bit more extra things that are not available out of the box. But they also use the do-it-yourself document builder or document template for forms that are, that they're generating with not a lot of data. So for example, the terms of business or a summary assignment letter or the health and safety, work health and safety forms. And in terms of usability, you can use it for onboarding, you can use it for client documentation, you can use it for contracts. The idea really is that you're adding an online form and signing tool to your existing FastTrack environment, wherever there is a piece of paper that you need to, that at the moment you're emailing or posting or scanning or whatever it might be, you'll replace that with a secured signing form to make it easier for both your clients and your consultants to get on with what they actually want to do, rather than slowing down the process by them having to print it, find a printer, then fill it in, then send it back, then your consultant have to print it, maybe sign it themselves, then they upload it back, then they save it somewhere, then they upload it to FastTrack, and you get the idea. There's many, many, many steps. So from our customers we've spoken to, we've found that they save over 2 hours of admin work per candidate when they switch to secured signing, when you take into account the data validation that we do, as well as the automation of follow-ups that is possible. So they've found, really enabled them to grow their business without necessarily needing to hire more people to get through the paperwork. So I know that we're running out of time. There is just a couple of questions. So about the pay forms, we can control the where they're saved. So you can, if you want, not even save them to the front and just save them to the back. So yes, you can control who sees the pay information, as it is sensitive. So yes, absolutely, and that's come up with our existing customers as well. So yes, we do that. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap that up here. I'm 5 minutes over the time. I really appreciate you joining us today. Hopefully you've found this really insightful, got you thinking about how you're doing things today and how you can be doing it a little bit better in the future. So if you would like to know more information about this, or you'd like to discuss your processes and business requirements privately, we're more than happy to schedule a private demo to go through what's important to you, how are you doing things today, and how we can help you improve what you're doing and how you're using forms and signing in your business and in your agency. So again, thanks so much. Feel free to send us an email here to fdsales@securedsigning.com, and we will also send you a recording of this session after the webinar, so you can share it with other colleagues if they are interested to find out more as well. So thank you, have a wonderful day, and we'll be in touch.